is a very simple message. It's not really something that we haven't heard before. It's pretty much a message that we've heard pretty much since we have been getting on the path to come to our Father. And, so it's there. It's not something that we haven't heard before. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up at this time, or speaking on this message, is the opportunity that we have at this time to understand what is taking place in the earth and the things that we need to do in order to show ourselves as the sons of Yahweh. Because, Yahshua came into the earth, and Yahshua showed us certain things that is there, is prevalent in everyone's holy scripture. And even if someone is not loving, certain things of the holy scriptures, they have heard these things before, somewhere along the line. Now, during this fall, there are a lot of things that I believe is going to be happening in the earth, a great deal of things. And, Yahweh has showed us, during this time, there's going to be signs in the heavens and in the earth. He said the nations are going to be perplexed at just what is happening. Now, over the last few years, there have been many signs in the heavens and actually in the earth. There's an increase in earthquakes, and you can see it because we report on that all the time. Mass animal deaths. You can see the increase in violence and the agitation in the human spirit. These things are taking place right now, and there is an invisible war that is taking place in heaven. And of course, this invisible war is just because of those who have been given control over the earth for all these years. They're simply losing their jobs right now, or they're about to, but they're fighting with everything that they have not to lose their jobs. Now, it's not just one of these that is doing that. There are different factions that are also fighting against each other. And I would get into that, but that would be another message. But if you will go into your scriptures and remember the statue of Nebuchadnezzar, and it talks about the last days of their kingdom. It says that the foot had clay and iron, and these things just don't stick together. They just don't mend and hold each other. So things are taking place that's going to cause the whole kingdom that man has set up, which are these usurpers that have taken hold of the earth, really, and have enslaved humanity. These guys are about to lose their jobs. And, of course, if they lose their jobs, others have to take their jobs. And, of course, this is where the new heavens or new rulers of heaven and new earth, or also new rulers on the earth, is going to be taking place. And what takes place is this is given over to the saints of Yahweh, but it has to be real saints. This cannot be anyone who just knows the name of Yahweh, who understands some things intellectually. These have to be people who display the characteristics of Yahshua. Because if we don't display the characteristics of Yahshua, we're not part of the body. We're really not, because the body is going to follow the head wherever the head goes. That's why our scripture tells us these that have their white robes, and these are the bride. This is the bride of the Lamb. It says they follow the Lamb wherever the Lamb goes. So notice who they're following now. They're following the Lamb. Okay, they're not just following the letter of the law. They're following the Lamb. So they have to go beyond the letter of the law, because that's what the Pharisees and Sadducees, that was their righteousness. Okay, it says, for your righteousness, okay, to enter the kingdom of heaven, your righteousness has to be that beyond the scribes and the Pharisees. And the scribes and the Pharisees, they have their righteousness that they look into a book, and that's what their righteousness was, and they followed that to a T. Well, that will save them from certain things, because if they don't know any better, that's fine. That's fine, because that's where they're held to. But you and I have to know better. And when we know better, we have to do better. Once we know, we cannot go back and become subjected to things that may possibly not help our brother and our sisters. We have to display the compassion of Yahweh, the mercy of Yahweh, which is the kindness, the love. This is what the Christians call grace. This is what they're calling grace. And pardon, this is actually what you're going to be doing. And this is what we're going to be doing. So things are coming upon the earth, and these things are here to help you and I to display the characteristics that we need to. Characteristics as sons and daughters of the Most High. This is actually what's taking place today. So as these natural disasters come up, and as you see protests coming up on the land more and more and more, there may be shortages in certain supplies, food possibly. These are all things that we have to prepare for at this time. I'm not saying that these particular things are going to happen. Sooner or later, I believe they will, and I think this is the time that it's going to take place. But what I'm saying is preparation needs to be done, and not only preparation for myself, but preparation for myself and for my neighbors and for my friends. This is how we have to look at it. We can't look at it as, well, I'm going to get enough wheat for myself here, and or I'm going to get enough wheat for myself and my family, and we're set. No, if you have the means, or we have the means, get enough or prepare that others, more than just yourself, is going to be assisted during this time, because this is how the kingdom of heaven is going to work, and this is how the sons of Yahweh are going to be selected. No one is going to be selected who only takes care of their own, because you and I have to understand that our own is everyone. That's our own, not just the ones who Yahweh in this three-dimensional world has given you and I to sit in front of every day and to lead and to give instructions to, and hope that they follow instructions. No. The sons of Yahweh who are revealed, they have to have this attitude to everyone. Everyone. Okay, my first scripture here today is Matthew 10. Matthew 10. And we're going to look at Matthew 10 and let's go to Matthew 10 verse 37. Okay? And in 37, chapter 10 and verse 37, in this book that I have here, the subheading says loyal service. Loyal service. This is the service that we display, loyal service. It says, he who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And now, this is usually how we do it, because usually what we do, we love those who we're coming to this world and we know as our mother, we know as our children, we know as our close family members. This is who we know first. But this me that is talking about, it's not just Yahshua. It's not just talking about Yahshua. It's talking about that which Yahshua represents. That's what he represents. Now, he goes through the scriptures and he tells you what he represents. Okay? He represents the individual or those who are going to come in and not look out for themselves. He's the one who is going to come in and heal the one who is sick. And this doesn't have to be physically sick. If you could do that, well, that's the kindness that you share. But if it's someone, whatever ability he has given you to help someone who is sick, if it's just that you know to give that person a drink of water, so you know, because you know they have been dehydrated, if that's all you have, because that's all the knowledge that you have been given, well, that's what you do. He came to to help those who have no clothes, the naked in that sense. And this is not just someone who has no clothes physically, but you and I have no clothes when we don't have the proper characteristics of our Father to cover us. We don't have that. So the individual who is going to lead those to righteousness, this is what he's talking about. Now, if father or mother or sister or brother comes in the way of us displaying the characteristics of our brother or our Savior, that's a problem. If you go back and you look at the children of Israel, Moshe went up on the mountain, came back down, and all stuff was broken out in the camp. And he said, whoever is for me, this is the Savior now. That's all he really is. At that time, he's playing the role of a Savior because he was sent into Egypt to save. So he said, whoever is for me, who is for that which is going to save? He said, come over on my side. Well, do you notice who went over to him? At that time, it was only the Levites. Well, the Levites may say, well, that's because those are his brothers. Well, that may be, but Levi has a meaning. Levi means attached. Okay? So that which is attached, they're going to follow Moshe wherever he goes, and that was a symbol. That was a pattern of what you and I have to truly do, because you and I have to be attached to the Son. And we have to follow the Son wherever the Son goes. And during a certain time, is going to break out, and you have to make sure that in everything that you and we're going to do, we have to attach, because that is actually what's going to cause you and I to be members of the Son. Doesn't matter what else we do, it's what is going to be in our hearts, and based upon what is in our hearts, what we're going to display outside in our characteristics and our attitudes toward our fellow man. This is what we're going to be having. Now, so if we love individuals, or mom, dad, or whatever the case is, more than doing that duty, we're not worthy. It's simple as that. We're just not worthy. So here goes. And he who loves son or daughter more than displaying the things that I'm showing you here, that's what he's saying, the things that he shows man or shows his apostles, is not worthy of that awareness. Because you cannot get it. You cannot come and open your heart to other people if you close your heart to people and you love only your family. You can't. We cannot do that if we see an individual who is transgressing, and we want to judge and grab that individual all kind of way, but our sons and daughters who we see doing the same thing, we give all the mercy to, but the other guy, we're not doing the same thing too. This is what we have to do. Everyone has to become our child. Everyone has to become us. They have to be who we are. We cannot be disconnected from them. We have to open our hearts to everyone. Okay, now it says in 38, and he who does not take up his yoke, and this yoke, guys, is the responsibility that we have. If we say we're disciples of Messiah, when do we have a yoke? Well, what's the yoke? To do what he did. And to do what he told us to do. He says, go into the world. And this is what you're going to do. He says, you're going to spread the things that I say, because this is actually what's going to wake individuals up. Because in the nations, Messiah, the secret of the message is that Messiah is in them, just like it is in us. It's the spirit that is there. It's going to be there. This is the only way that Yahweh is going to be able to write his law in your heart. Or in your inward parts. That's the only way. Okay? Because that's the situation from the beginning. It's not you don't need a book to go look into a book. It's already in you. You have to be awakened to it. And you are awakened to it when you practice the things that causes the connections to come together. And once the connections are there, you don't need anything, because you feel it when you're not doing the right thing. Okay? You have to fear that conscience to not do the right thing. You don't have to look into a book and get this or that. No, you know it. Because you know you have to be kind. You know you have to be merciful. You know that you're going to look out for the next person even above yourself in certain instances. Because why would you do that? Well, if you have your needs met in certain things, and this individual may not have their needs met in certain things, well, you're not going to say, well, I'm going to get the first piece of cake, even though I already ate. No, you're going to say, well, he'll get the first piece of cake because he doesn't have any food. And you're going to give it, even though it's yours at that time, and you could, and you could do whatever you want to do with it. You're going to look out for that individual's need. Now, I put it in that manner, in simple terms, but you're going to find it in greater terms, things that you're not going to want to let go of, material things that someone else may need. This is how we have to look at it, because this is how you're going to fix that heavenly resume. So when the books are open, the things that you have done, because you're not storing up that which is in the earth, you're storing up treasures in the heavens. It doesn't really matter what's happening in the earth, how many coins you got here, it's all corruptible. You're storing up something that no one could touch, and this is yours. And as much as you do for your brother, this is how much you're going to store up for your father. So he says here, he who does not take up his responsibility, and part of that responsibility is to deny the self and follow after me. Do the things that I say to do. Do the things that you see me doing, he's saying, is not worthy of me. Here he goes. He says, he who finds his life, to live his life here and be comfortable, even though someone else, he could help somebody else, okay, but he don't want to become uncomfortable, because if he helps that person, then there'll be a problem. This is how we have to look at some of these things now. So he who finds his life is in this world, does not deny himself, does not take up his yoke, which is really what he's finding his life. But he's going to find his life, his own life, in this world. He is going to lose it. He who loses his life in this world because he's taken up the yoke. So that's what is number one. That's what's number one. When persecution and all kind of issues come up, this individual is going to still hold that line. They're not going to let it go. This is where they are. They're going to be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They're going to hold that line, even when difficult things come up. They're going to be serving just as their ruler has told them to serve. Not going to the left or the right. They're going to follow him wherever he goes. This is what we have to have within our persons right here. Okay, so he who loses his life, which is this world, for my sake, because you don't really have to lose it. He may not put that. But if it does, somewhere we have to go. For my sake, we'll find it. Notice this next one now. He who receives you can, when the message that you are speaking, which is based upon what Messiah is saying, he said, receives me. If someone receives you, they receive me, he says. Because, why is that? Because you are in him. You are a part of him. You are a part of that spirit. You are a part of that body. So if someone receives you, they're receiving that body. When I go before someone and I'm speaking, they see my face and my clothes, but they are receiving everything that's in me, every cell, my heart, everything. They're receiving my whole person. They may only see my head, but if they're going to agree with me, they're going to agree with everything, every single part of me. So, but he's trying to tell you how this goes now. He who receives me receives you, who are my body, receives me also. And in receiving me, receives him who sent me. Because you're going out just to represent Messiah, but if you're representing Messiah, you're representing the Father. Because he says, if you see me, you see the Father. If you understand me, you understand the Father. Whatever I'm doing is what the Father would do. So when you're doing that also, you're displaying the Father. You're bringing the Father to every person. And when you're showing compassion, and when you're showing mercy to individuals, and when your heart is opened up to help someone in their difficult situations, this is what we're talking about. During this time, there are going to be a lot of difficult situations all over the world. All over the world. Now, if you and I can truly have compassion on what's going on with those people, and not just let it be, well, that's what's happening with them right now, and I'm glad it didn't happen over here, and yeah, well, man, that's really bad. I mean, 50,000 of them lost their homes. Wow, we look at it like that. Well, we see that. But what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We see it, but what do we do? Do we do something to help out? Now, it doesn't matter if you go to help and someone steals that money. All that really matters is what's in you, what you're doing for them. If you give $500 and somebody in the Red Cross says, listen, there's a nice $500 bill right here, okay, not that there is, but and I'm going to take that, and I'm going to buy this and that for my family, it doesn't really matter, because the physical thing doesn't matter. What was the intent of your heart? That's what matters. Yahweh's looking at the intent of your heart. Did you look out for your brother who you saw stuck, or your brother's ox who you saw stuck in the ditch? Was your intention to get that ox out, to help that ox so that ox doesn't get hurt or die under its weight, or the circumstances that it's in? This is not just to our neighbor or who is in our community or our friends. This is to everyone. And what I'm trying to say here today, we have to practice this. During this time that all these issues are happening to people, because it's going to be escalating, you and I have to start looking out for the people. Open up your heart. Send your prayer to these people, or for these people. Give them what you can. Yeah, there are people who are pretty honest, who are trying to supply food, clothing, buying money, needing money to buy things or help out there, because you can't be there. And there are individuals who are crooks. This happens, and they all of a sudden they create a website to collect money for it. Yes, you have those too. But it doesn't matter, because what matters is what's in your heart. Because out of the intention of your heart, this is how you're going to create a situation that is going to assist you with your Father. So we move on here. If you receive, if they receive you, they're receiving the Father. Now notice what it says. He who receives a prophet because of the authority of a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. Or you could say, will receive the prophet's reward. Because that which the prophet receives, the prophet gives to those who receive it. Now we go back to Yahshua. Yahshua says, all things are mine. And if you are going to do the things that I say, the Father will take that which is of that which is mine, he says, and give it to you. Why? Because you received Messiah. You received Yahshua. You received him, and if you receive him, you receive the Father, and the Father takes up what is his, a prophet, okay, and gives that prophet's reward to you, he says. My Father will take up what is mine and give to you. Well, it's no different when you start playing the role of Messiah. And if someone receives you, because if they receive you, they receive the Father also. And the Father will do the same thing. He will take that which is yours which you're going to be receiving, or which is stored up for you, and he'll give it to them. And what is yours? That which is yours is what's of your head. And what's of your head is what's of the Father. It's all the Father's anyway. And whatever the Father is going to be given to you, the Father is going to give it liberally to everyone who is in your family or all those who receive you, and you are not going to lose one bit. So it's not like, well, okay, I got $50. If he's going to take off my $50 and give $10 over here, I'm only going to have 40. We don't have to think that way, because this is how it works. If you have $50, and it's not a physical thing, guys, but if you have $50, and this is how it's going to work, and the Father takes $10 off that $50 and just put it in worldly terms and give it, you still have $50. It's multiplied. You gave $50, you still have $50. Because what's given is a spirit. Okay? And you can't limit the giving of the spirit. You could limit the giving, what man has, but you can't limit the givings of your Father. It's abounding. Remember, abounding. There's no end to it. So if you have the gift of the Father, and the Father takes from what's yours and gives to someone else, you didn't lose nothing. The Father's not losing anything by giving to everyone. He doesn't lose it. It's just shared. But he loses nothing. It's multiplying. This is the concept that Yahshua used, okay, because he knew this, to multiply the fish and the loaves of bread. He knew this. And this was a spiritual thing that was happening, and some people who don't really know will say, well, this is not what really happened. Well, yes, it is what happened. When you know how to intermingle different worlds and different dimensions, you know how to do this. And the Father is the ruler of all of them. And when he gives you a gift, he didn't lose anything. And when you use that gift and someone receives you and they receive the same thing, you didn't lose anything. You can't. You can't. So we go on here. So if you receive the prophet reward, if you receive the prophet by the authority of a prophet, will receive a prophet's reward. And he who receives a righteous man because of the character of a righteous man will receive a righteous man's reward. Let's go to 42 now. And whoever gives a cup of wine, of the wine of life, to one of these little ones, only through the authority of a disciple. Only through the authority of a disciple. Now, a disciple is not even a righteous man. He could be a righteous man, but he doesn't even have to. A righteous man is a righteous man. We know that. Okay? And a prophet is a prophet. But a disciple is just one who wants to follow. He may not be a righteous man yet. He might not have graduated. That's why it says only a disciple. Okay? And whoever gives the cup of the wine of life, this is the teachings, brothers and sisters, that Yahshua told us to go out into the world and give. He says, you go into the world and teach them the things that I taught you. I taught you. This is the wine of life. This is the wine of life. To one of these little ones, only through the authority of a disciple. Now, we have an apostle and we have a disciple. An apostle is one who you send on a mission. One that's sent. A disciple is one who follows. Now, an apostle could be a disciple too, because he's one that is trusted so much that you could send him on a mission and trust that that mission is not going to be aborted. Only a disciple may not be that strong yet, but they're on the path and they're probably going to be strengthened as they go along. But this is talking about just a disciple. Just a disciple. Truly I say to you that he will not lose his reward. This is what we're talking about. Displaying our ruler. Now let's go over to Matthew 25. Matthew 25. Matthew 25. And let's look at verse 41. Now, let's go over to verse 31. Not 41, 31. Okay? Now, Messiah, the Son, doesn't necessarily come by observation. Okay? But if we think that he can't come or he won't come into the earth, that's another thing, because our scripture tells us that he comes. These apostles, he said, you apostles who see him going, you will see him coming just in the same manner. Well, not everyone is going to see it, but it's going to be happening. And he will be there without many understanding and seeing. But the main thing is, when he comes, there's an awakening that comes with him. And this is what we have to answer, that we have to understand, because this is a spiritual part of his coming. The spiritual part of his coming is that you're waking up to that which he stood for. That is your awakening. So it says here, it says, when the Son of Man comes in his glory, with all the holy Malachim with him, he will sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him will be gathered all people, and he will separate them one from another, just as a shepherd separates his sheep from the goats. The sheep, the submissive, the goats, the stubborn. Nevertheless, guys, they're all his. We have to understand this. They're all his. They're the sheep who are submissive. They follow wherever the shepherd goes. We have the goats who don't necessarily follow wherever the shepherd goes. Okay? The shepherd sometimes got to chase these goats, okay, because they're stubborn. They want to get themselves into everything except for what you tell them to do. They're always going astray somehow, but they're his. And he will set the sheep, which are the submissive, on his right hand. Because the right hand is actually what is used to do whatever needs to be done. The left hand is going to assist the right hand. But the goats on the left, who is going to sit on the right hand or on the left hand side is not for him to say. He said it's for the Father. But when he comes, it all will be known. And this is actually what will be taking place. Then the king will say to those on his right hand, come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. The one that you fell from, but you're going to inherit it right back. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, not a brother, not a sister, not a cousin, not even a neighbor, a stranger. And you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. Now, you could look at it in different dimensions, or you could look at it spiritual, mental, physical. These are all just as important. If you do it with clothing, literal clothing, it's just as important as if you're doing it spiritually or mentally. Okay? If you're giving someone the word, the wine of life, you're clothing them. But if you give someone who has been drenched out there, and you give them clean and dry clothing, you have done the same thing. It's going to count. All of it counts for your Father. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Now, this sick is talking about the deception that's in the world. When folks are not awake to what the truth is, this is all part of a sickness. Being caught in the things the world is caught up in, this is all a sickness. This is all part of a plague. I was in prison, and you came to me. The prison is the captivation that this world has put out there also, guys, and that we become addicted to, or we think it's the way of life, and we fight to hold on to this life in all kind of ways until someone could come and show us different, because this is how you visit someone in prison. And you come to them. Now, they don't have to come out of prison. But notice, he's showing you that these are all little ones that are still his. That's what he's saying. And he's saying, you visited that one in prison. The little one. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Teacher, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and gave you drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, and naked and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and come to you? We didn't see that. We didn't do that. And the king will answer and say to them, Truly I say to you, when you did this for one of the least, that is not your neighbor right here, not your son, not your daughter, but you're doing it for one of these least, one that might have lost their home in a flood, okay? And you can't give a lot to it, but you contribute what you can. But we think that we know and we have all the doctrine of life, but the one who really is not even all about that, okay, who is a disciple and struggling, okay, he's given. His heart is open. And he's given. And he's giving $100 or whatever the case is, because his heart is open to compassion. But here I am. I got the doctrine and I know it all, but I don't have to do nothing. Because what I know is I know doctrine. Yahweh doesn't care about what we know. Trust me. He cares about what we do with what we know. We're not going to do anything for someone if they come to us and they are in need. And we say, hey, go be filled. Go handle your need. No. You're not going to be fixed. You're going to be fixed when you, who have the ability to assist them in their need, when you do those things. So you may believe it and know that's the right thing to do, but unless you do something about what you know to do, it doesn't count for you. That's what we have to do. We have to do something. Now, there's going to be a lot of disasters coming up. Some may come upon us. It's okay. But I'll tell you what, if you're giving to someone right now, because that's the spirit that's in you to do, that you open your heart to do right now, your Father's going to help you all through that. He's going to help you all through that. And in some cases where he may not help you through that, is because he is choosing that to take you to some place that he wants you to come to. Whether he's going to bless you beyond all things and he's taking you through your tribulation and you're thinking that no one is with you and everything has forsaken you, but at the end of the day, you become a yoke, that's what he chose. At the end of the day, everything is given back to you 10 times more, 20 times more, 30 times more, whatever it is. That's what he chose. If you could just be quiet, be still, and wait upon your Father, don't judge this one, because that thing is coming upon you. Don't curse that one. Just don't judge anything before it's time. Know that your Father has everything in his hands, including you. This is what he said. This is the teaching of our Savior. And we have to take this teaching to heart. So this is it now. He says, the king will answer and say, truly I say to you, when you did this for one of the least of these, my brothers, you have done it to me. But this is the thing. If you have done it to one of these least, you have done it to me. And if you also are part of the body that we're looking at here, well, when you do it for the next person, and you do it for this king, and you're part of the king's body, well, who are you doing it for? When you go out and do it for another person, you got to look at it. You're not just doing it for the king, because you are part of the king. This is how we have to look at it. Because whatever the king has, the king is going to give to his body, or his government, whatever it is. And these little ones are part of the king. And you are an official there. So as much as you do for the little ones, who are you doing it for? We can't love our Father unless we love his creation. We can't respect the Father unless we have respect for the creation. We can't reverence the Father unless we do the same thing for the creation. You can't even be forgiven unless you forgive. Think about it. This is how the spiritual things work. Now let's go over to Romans here. Now the same thing that we just got to look at as when did we see that? Now the same thing, we know the same thing happens to those who were like, listen, you know, I did this, and I did that, and I did this, and I did that. Don't discount. And he's going to say, listen, man, I never knew you. Get away from me, because I never knew you. The same thing is going to happen to the other side, guys. If we know all these things, and we have all the faith and all the doctrine, but we're not working with what we have, we don't need to work when we have. We need to work with what we have. It's easy to work when we get a whole bunch of stuff. But let's work with what we have. During this time, we're going to need to work with what we have. Because there's going to be a lot of things that's happening. And I'm telling you, give to these people. Be part of it. It doesn't really matter if it gets to them, guys. It doesn't matter. Now, this is the deal. If you know there's a crooked guy over here, and you know he's crooked, then yeah, don't give it to him, because now you know it's not going to get to them for sure. But if you don't know, and you believe this is actually the deal, and you go and you give to the Red Cross because you think this is actually what's going to be happening, you are contributing to the disaster relief over there. Well, it's all about what's in your heart. If not a penny got there, that's not upon you at that point, because you, the joy and is in you. The issue is going to be upon those who are stealing that money and doing ill to those people and not allowing certain things to get through them. That's your Father's going to deal with them. Let's go over to Romans 5. Romans 12, I'm sorry. Romans 12. Romans 12, and let's look at verse 3. In verse 3, it says, gifts in body of Messiah. It says, for the unmerited mercy given to me, I say to everyone who is among you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think soberly in accordance to Yahweh, according as Yahweh has dealt to each one the measure of faith. He hasn't given everybody the same thing. But no matter what he gives you, don't think about it as above something else, somebody else. No. We have to come down. We have to get off the high horse, and we have to intermingle as a member of the body. Because Yahweh is going to give whom he pleases, but everything is being looked upon right now. Am I the individual who looks upon myself as, well, everyone has to serve me? Or I have to be in charge of everything? What am I looking at? I have to look at these things because I'm trying to tell you what Yahweh is going to be looking for. Or this is what Yahweh looks for. And when I say Yahweh, I'm talking about everything that's happening right now and the test that you're dealing with. This is actually what is being sought out. If you have weaknesses within yourself, check it. This morning you saw we couldn't get on the internet. This is for us, guys. It could be frustrating, but it's for us. The internet is working, but we can't get on GoToMeetings. We couldn't get on with the phone. We couldn't get on with this computer. We couldn't get on with that computer. Everything is going smash ball. We get on another website, but GoToMeetings today, we're not having that today, only today. Because I'm telling you how to become a son of Yahweh. I'm telling you how to follow Messiah wherever Messiah goes. I'm telling you, you have to humble yourself and not think higher of yourself than you ought to. Associate with your brothers with a humble mind. When something is going on out there that you see, these are the little ones, assist these little ones. Assist them. Do it. There's going to be a lot of that's happening right now, but it's happening for a reason. And when you see it happening, and it's in your means to help. In accordance as Yahweh has dealt to each one the measure of faith. For as we have many members in one body, and all members do not have the same function, so we, being many, are one in Messiah. You being many are one in Messiah. Notice, guys, one in Messiah. And each one members, one belonging to another. Did you see that? You belong one to another. Each member, one belonging to another. Now, these little ones, guys, they may not be of the certain parts of the kingdom of Yahweh or what Yahweh is all about, but they're the children of Yahweh too. They not be sons, because sons are builders of the family name. They may not have that part of the body, but they're part of what it is. They're the creation of the Father. All is in Yahweh. All. And Yahweh is in all. That's something that we have to understand. It's a paradox. Yahweh is in everyone. The essence of Yahweh is in everyone. Everything that is in creation. And everything lives in Yahweh. So when I do for these little ones, am I only doing it for Yahweh, since I'm part of the body and everything is part of what's in Yahweh too? Or am I doing it for myself too? If I do for my brothers, I'm doing it for me too. Not only for Messiah, and not only for Yahweh, because I'm one in them. I'm part of the body. And as much as I do it for them, I'm not just doing it for the king, I'm doing it for me too. We have to see it in that manner, that we're not disconnected from each other, except for in this world that this great veil has been casted upon, and we see each other as individuals moving in his own way. But everyone has to come to the Father. Everyone. And your duty is, what do you do knowing that? Do you assist them because they're lost sheep? You go out looking. What do you do when you find the lost sheep? You say, okay, that one is lost, let me go to another one. No, you do your best to guide them back. They're part of the same family, your family. When they lose their home, you lost your home. They're part of you. You just don't feel it that way right now because of where you live. Because of the lack of awareness or consciousness that you may have, some of us. But if you know what's really going on, you have compassion and mercy for all that. You have compassion. You got to be moved with compassion to heal someone. You can't heal someone without opening your heart with compassion. The power doesn't even come. You have to have compassion on what's going on. And this is your opportunity, because it's going to be happening all over the world. And you have to take notice of this, because this is what the children are going to have to do. You just don't go into an office. You have to be practicing that office. This is school time. Before you graduate, school time. Practice given to these little ones, because you're not only given to these little ones, no, you're given to the ruler. And if you're part of the ruler's body, you're given to yourself. It's like I'm eating something that's nutritious. I'm not just eating it for the tongue. No. The tongue may be tasting it, but it's going for the body. The hand that puts it into the mouth, it's for the hand too. Eating it for the hand too. That's feeding the mouth. We being many, one body in Messiah. And each one members belonging to another. Each one. Let's go over to 1 Corinthians 12. Each one a member of the other.
Say that again. What scripture?
1 Corinthians 12. And let's go to verse 20. Verse 20. Notice what it says here. But now there are many members, but only one body. Many members, but only one body. Now, what's the duty of those who are awake? Is the duty of those who are awake only to mingle with themselves? Is it only to help those that are awake too? What's our duty? If that was the case, Yahshua would have hung out with the 12 apostles. He wouldn't go around Palestine and the Transjordan and all that stuff, trying to teach people and help them to see that the kingdom of Yahweh is approaching and where the kingdom of Yahweh actually was. And once you establish the kingdom of Yahweh, because the kingdom of Yahweh is definitely within. It's definitely within. The great thing about it, though, it permeates outside. Because once you have it inside, you have a duty to do things outside of you. Because the work that you have to do is outside. Yahshua came, he says, I have a lot to do right now. And I have to do it while it's still daylight, because night comes. Well, he knew the time that was coming. He knew the darkness was coming during his time. But guys, we have the same thing here. We have the same thing going on here. Darkness is coming. It's really, really just upon us right now. It may not be midnight, but it's coming. Well, it says here, we're one body. And we got to think about it like that. We are one body. And our duty is to wake up the rest of the body. That's what our duty is, to wake up the rest of the body. Now, the rest of the body, all these who are out there. Like Yahshua went through Palestine, guys, for Israel. Do you think all the people that he went to believed what he was saying? No. As a matter of fact, some of them killed him. The very ones who he went to. But yet he told you that you and I should be doing the very same thing that he did. And he told us, go to the world and tell them what I told you. And teach them what I taught you. And what he taught us is for us to have compassion, mercy, and help these people. That's what he told us to do. He didn't say when a situation comes up, look in a book. You don't need that. He tells you when they arrest you, don't go meditating on what you're going to say, because that's all intellectual. He's not dealing with the intellect, guys. He said the Spirit will give you what you need to say. There's something that he wants to give you. But we have to wake up. We have to wake up. Now, there's great resistance that don't want some of us to wake up. But you need to wake up. We need to wake up by knowing that we have to have respect for everything. You know, when we were in the HOI cursed everything except for the HOI. Every Christian was in trouble. The Jews was in trouble. The Islam or whatever, because we were above everybody else. We were above everybody else. We were more holy than all of ours. But we couldn't see that the very thing that we were doing in looking down on everyone, we couldn't see that we were debased. Because that's not what Yahshua said to do. Yahshua had issues with the Pharisees and the Sadducees because of what they taught. But if you notice, the ones who listened to him, he was going to their homes. He wasn't having a problem with them. A lot of things came up because of doctrinal arguments. But a lot of them started to believe him. And if the ones who killed him had also done the same thing, he wouldn't have had any issues with it. I mean, he didn't have any issues with them anyway, but he wouldn't have had, because his job, he came in to deal with those who were sick. The righteous man is not considered sick. He doesn't need a physician. Yahshua didn't come for the righteous man. That man is already on his path. He came, he said, for those who are sick. Now, did everyone who was sick listen to him? Did they want to become healed? No. No, they didn't. But he went to them. They were sick and they were in prison, and he went to them. That's the thing. We got to do the same thing. And you don't have to do things in a physical manner. That's all a veil. That's all a veil. Yahshua said the time comes and now is when the true worshipers of Yahweh, the true worshipers, I want you to get that, the true worshipers is going to worship him in spirit and in truth. spirit is the intent that you're going to have within your heart to do whatever. Now, you can have a bad spirit or a great spirit, but it's the spirit of Yahweh. You know, if you're going to worship Yahweh, you're going to serve him, it's with his spirit. You have to assist everyone. You have to be like your Messiah, and you have to love to do it. You have to grow to the point that you love to do it. And the truth, guys, is Yahweh's law is truth. Now, I already went over the laws and how the laws work concerning the difference with the letter of the law and Yahweh's law. We looked at that. The letter of the law is showing that certain things have to be done, and the spirit of Yahweh is showing you, yeah, those things are permissible, but also you have to make sure in anything that you're doing with the letter that it does not hurt someone. Because it can. The letter can. But when the spirit of Yahweh comes in you, you know how to magnify that law, brothers and sisters, and make it honorable. The letter, the honorable. Well, why wasn't it honorable? Why you got to make it honorable? Because in the state that it was written, there's a veil. There's a veil because those who it was written to were not accepted in any other way. And in Shlomo's time, he said, when the law is read, there still remains that same veil that you have to come from behind in order to make it honorable, for you to know what it actually, the spirit of that same law, what it's all about. There's a spirit in the law that Moshe gave. When he came down from the mountain, he had stones. But notice, he went and wrote everything in a book. And part of that was to go sacrificing animals in which Yahweh said, he said nothing about when they came out of Egypt. But yet, Yahweh gave that's what Yahweh gave him. Yahweh presented these things to him and allowed him to see how Israel would accept it and put it down in that manner. But it was veiled. And the way it is today, it has come down in the very same way, veiled. That's why Yahshua says, your righteousness has to go beyond that of the scribes and the Pharisees, because their righteousness was veiled. You have to have compassion abounding, as Yahweh said. Mercy abounding in what Yahweh, as Yahweh said. Kindness, this is the love that Yahweh is talking about. Love. Greater love has no one than this. They will know you by the love that you show for one another. Now let's go over to 1 Corinthians. I'm going to go to chapter 13 here. And brothers and sisters, this is your examination. This is our examination. As we go forward during this time period right here, make sure that you're not being agitated when circumstances and situations come up before us, because they're here to do that. Remember, the sword that cuts every which way to guard the way back into the garden, it has to cut everything from you. It has to cut everything from you. Well, that sword is only going to cut what is excess that can't go in. It's a flaming sword. You know, they had this passing point or this checkpoint before you got into Jerusalem back in the days that they called the eye of the needle. And Yahshua said it's easier for a camel to get into the eye of the needle than a rich man to get into the kingdom of heaven. Now, what happened when they came to the eye of the needle, people were coming to the Jerusalem, whatever, and they had all kind of stuff on that camel. And this checkpoint, certain things couldn't go in. So people have to get rid of certain things at that point or come prepared to get in. But a rich man has a lot of things that this world has blessed him with, and that's part of his test. Because he don't want to let that go. So he wants to save that life. But he has to lose that life to actually save the life that's going to bring him into the kingdom. And that's why it's hard for a rich man to enter in, and it's easier for this camel to get in, because that camel's gonna get through it by the end of the day. Because those people who are coming in, they know drop this, drop that, because their thing is to get to the feast, to get into Jerusalem to the feast or whatever. So they get rid of everything that they'll need, or they come prepared to get in and don't come with things they don't need. And it's easier for that camel, and that camel could be held up for hours. Than for that man, that rich man, with all the things that he thinks he has in this world to come in. Now, let's go over to Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 13. 1 Corinthians 13. Notice what it says here in verse 1. Shaul here is speaking. Now, Shaul was by Yahshua himself. When I say taught by Yahshua, Yahshua didn't necessarily come down and say, okay, 1 + 1 is 2. But Yahshua personally managed Shaul's awakening. Personally. He struck him and spoke to him. Got Shaul to all of a sudden pay attention. Then he orchestrated how Shaul would be taught after that, how his eyes would be open, and what his duty was going to be done. Was about what he was going to be doing. Personally orchestrated that. This is Shaul speaking here in 2 Corinthians, in 1 Corinthians. And Yahshua made sure that Shaul had surpassingly great revelations. Yahshua revealed it to him. That's why he said, I have surpassingly great revelations. That's what Shaul said. Because the king revealed it to him. Or orchestrated it so that could be revealed to him. And he's speaking right here in 1 Corinthians 13. And you can look at it as love in the family of Yahweh, or love in your body, because for you to do it right, this has to be in you too. And for me to do it, the same thing. It says, though I speak with the languages of men and of Malachim, but have not love, I am only a resounding gong and a clanging cymbal. He's missing the component of love. That means I could have all the doctrine here of men and be speaking in a great powerful power as a Malik, but I got to understand what love is. Yahweh is love. We got to look at that. Yahweh is love. And Yahweh is not love because the letter of the law is love. No, Yahweh is beyond the letter of the law. I want you to understand that. You have to be beyond the letter of the law to understand this love. And though I have gifts of prophecy, yes, because you could have that and not totally have what Yahweh wants you to have. And understand all deep secrets. Shaul had this too, because Yahshua made sure that he had it. And all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I can remove mountains, but have not love. The component of love. I am nothing. Nothing. Greater love has no one than this, to give up his own to give to another. Greater love has no one than this, than to give up his own to save another. That's the spirit of salvation. Spirit of saving another. The saving another is not conditional. Because if it comes with conditions, then you just can't save just anyone. You only save when it's convenient. Greater love has no one than to give up his own to save whatever is going to be saved. And though I bestow all my possessions to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not love. Now all these other things are great things. They count. But if you don't have love, it don't mean nothing. It is of no advantage to us. We got to understand this love. Notice what it says here. Because this is what we have to have. This is love. Do you love? Do I love? This is how we're going to know. And this is how you know if you are truly the body. Okay? This is how we're going to know. Because the love that we show for one another, we have to have a love for one another. This is how we're going to know that we are brothers, true brothers. Love for one another. And children of Yahweh will love, because Yahweh is love. Notice here. Are we with Yahweh? Notice. Where it says love, I'm going to put in Yahweh. Yahweh is patient. And Yahweh is kind. Yahweh is not jealous, as man is jealous. You know, the scripture talks about Yahweh is jealous, but it's not talking about the jealous as we know it. They put it in the best way that they can. But the jealous that is meant is the laws of heaven are already set. They're set. And when you go against it in certain kind of ways, there are consequences, and there are sure consequences. So in that term, they say, well, it moves like someone is jealous. Like this guy over there, so this fury goes over there and deal with this man who feels someone has gone and messed with his family or his wife, whatever. And so he moves to deal with that situation. Well, Yahweh is the same thing, but he doesn't move in that because the law is already set. They're already set. His children have already set those things up. His sons, the Malachim, the servants. You don't have to do anything. But he said it that if you touch that fence that's electrical, you're going to get shocked, period. So that jealousy is not the same thing as the human jealousy that's moved. It's just that if you move out of place, you're going to get what is coming. If you go and deal with a man's wife, that man is going to be upset. He's going to be agitated. And he's going to come out with his agitation, and he's going to do something. Whether he's going to get at his wife or try to get somebody, whatever the case is. So if you transgress these laws, there are things that are agitated. And they're going to move against you in the same manner. And they move against you in order for you to fix it, correct it, and come back into balance. That's how it's moved. So in the scriptures, they call it Yahweh is jealous. But Yahweh is not jealous as we would look at man. Yahweh is not boastful. Am I boastful? Am I patient? Am I kind? Am I not jealous? Am I not boastful? As Yahweh is. Am I puffed up with pride? Because Yahweh is not puffed up with pride. Do I behave rudely? Because Yahweh does not behave rudely. Do I seek my own advantage? Because my Father, if I'm going to be a representative of my Father, I can't. If I'm going to be a representative of Messiah, I can't. And Messiah is representing the Father. It's not provoked. What does it take to get me worked up and to become irritated? Because Yahweh is patient. He's waiting, man. He's forgiving you 40 times 40, and that's not what it means as in just 40 times 40 in mathematics. He's forgiving you until you return to him. That's what it's talking about, you know. That's what it's talking about. Thinks no evil. Not going to accuse his brother of evil. Does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in truth. This is what we have to look at, because this is what we're tested on, guys. Okay? The characteristics of Yahweh, this is what we're going to be checked out on. Does not betray, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Because of this reason, guys, because of this, in verse 8 it says, love never fails. Your Father won't ever fail. As his child, you won't ever fail. This is why you'll come to the point that you will not be deceived when all these things are happening in the earth. You won't be. Because if you were deceived, you could possibly fail. But you're not going to be. Let's go up to verse 11. Verse 11 says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. Children will move with all kind of emotions. And there are many children that are very, very old. You have 90-year-old children today that still speak as a child, that still is caught up and provoked in all kind of manner, and is puffed up, and is jealous, and is boastful. These are all spirits. These are all spirits that want to take advantage, his own advantage. These are all spirits, guys, that live in men and women. And we have to come to the point that we see these things and exercise these things outside of us so that we may be sons. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, or when you receive that spirit that I've been telling you guys about, I put away childish things. I put away not being patient. Okay? I put away not being kind. I put away being jealous. I put away being boastful. I put away being puffed up. I put away being rude. I put away seeking my own advantage and being provoked easily. I stopped thinking evil of my friends and whoever may do something, whatever. Okay? I don't rejoice in the iniquity that may come back to their lives, but I know that they have to come out of Egypt just as I have to come out of Egypt, or the children of Israel came out of Egypt, so they shouldn't take advantage of the Egyptian. This is the same thing. But I rejoice in truth. This is what we have to look at. This is your test. Are we these things? Have the glory of Yahweh opened up to us? Is it with us? Do we love? Well, we have to practice things. Practice things. During this time, I believe you're going to have a great opportunity to give out of your heart. And the more you do it, the first time you do it, guys, it may just be out of sense of, well, maybe it's, maybe it's just my duty, whatever. But then that duty is going to become a loving duty. It's going to become a loving duty. Faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing by the word of heaven. It don't come by me just hearing something once and knowing it. It has to go in and take root. It has to grow to the point that I wake up. This is what it's talking about. I have to wake up. I have to grow up, become a man. And this is not just me. This is every one of us who intends to become part of the body of Messiah. Messiah is a Savior. That's a whole body. a body of saviors. Saviors. Saving the people from destructive habits. Saving them from issues that they have gone into. Lifting them out of it. Assisting them. This is Messiah. This is Messiah. Yahshua is the head of Messiah. You are the body of Messiah. We have to see it in this manner. We are one of the same body. Whatever you do for the individual that you're saving, you're doing it for you because that's the duty of Messiah. And when we see things happening, we have to be willing to give it. Give of ourselves. Nothing is going to be taken. You're going to get more. When you give, you get more. It's a spirit that you're getting. And this spirit is set up in such a manner in whatever you give, you're not losing anything. The only thing that's happening is you're getting more. So you may give more. That's how it works. You are giving more and you're getting more. And so you give more and you get more. But you never lose because Yahweh is not setting things up that you run out. Look at what Yahshua told us. He told us that whoever gives this bread of life or this water, it'll become like a spring of living water that just continues to well up. It can't stop. And as you're giving, do you think the source is going to stop? No, the source is your Father. And as you exercise your Father, you see how the source is. It just continues to give. And as you give, this is the windows of heaven that's opening and give you that you can't even handle it. But you never knew you had that. But it does that. It continues to give so you could take care of what your Father has to give you. And that's all I have to tell you today.